Wait, wait, wait. So now we're talking about Trey Hendrickson? Now the Atlanta Falcons are supposedly targeting an all-pro edge rusher who the Cincinnati Bengals don't even want to trade? And we're supposed to believe this is somehow a realistic option? Because let me tell you something right now. This is an opportunity knocking. This is desperation showing, and it's getting embarrassing. Here's what's actually happening, and I need everyone to understand this clearly. Trey Hendrickson is an elite player. He's proven he's productive. He's exactly the kind of difference maker that can transform a defense overnight. But, and this is a massive but, the Bengals aren't shopping him because they want it. They're not having a fire sale. They're not cleaning house. Cincinnati is a playoff contender right now, and Hendrickson is one of the main reasons why. So the idea that Atlanta can just swoop in and grab him like he's sitting on some clearance rack is absolutely delusional. Let's talk about what would actually take to pry Hendrickson away from Cincinnati. We're not talking about a mid-round pick and some cap gymnastics. We're talking about premium draft capital, multiple picks, probably including a first-rounder. We're talking about taking on a significant contract for a player who's already expressed frustration with his current situation. And we're talking about doing all of this while the Bengals hold every single card in the negotiation because they have zero incentive to move him unless someone absolutely blows him away with an offer. And here's where this gets really problematic for Atlanta. Even if they could somehow put together a package that Cincinnati would accept, even if they could work out the contract details, even if all the stars align and this trade actually happened, what exactly are they getting? Yes, they're getting an all-pro talent. But they're also getting a player who just went through contract frustrations, who's been vocal about wanting more money, who's now going to a new team with new expectations and immediate pressure to perform at an elite level. That's not a plug-and-play situation. That's a high-wire act with no safety net. The narrative I keep hearing is that Hendrickson will be the final piece that pushes the Falcons into legitimate contention. But let's be real about where Atlanta actually is right now. This is not a team that's one player away from competing for a Super Bowl. This is a team that has holes all over the roster, that's struggling to maintain consistency on both sides of ball, that's fighting just to stay relevant in a competitive division. Bringing in Hendrickson doesn't magically fix all of those problems. It just creates a new set of expectations that this team probably isn't ready to meet. And let's talk about the cost-benefit analysis here, because this is where the whole thing falls apart. The amount of resources Atlanta would have to commit to acquire Hendrickson, draft picks, cap space, contract negotiations, would severely limit their ability to address other needs. You can't build a complete team by throwing everything at one position. You can't mortgage your future for a single player and expect that to somehow transform your entire organization. That's not how sustainable success works in the NFL. Here's what really bothers me about this whole situation. It reeks of the same short-term thinking that has gotten so many teams into trouble. The Falcons are looking at their pass rush, seeing a glaring weakness, and thinking they can just throw money and picks at the problem until it goes away. But that's not addressing the root issue. The root issue is that they didn't adequately plan for this in the offseason. They didn't develop young talent. They didn't make the smart, calculated moves that would have put them in position to compete without having to make desperate trades at the deadline. And let's address the elephant in the room, the Bengals' resistance to trading him. When a team that's competing for a playoff spot is reluctant to move an all-pro player, that should tell you everything you need to know about his value to that organization. Cincinnati knows what they have. They know that Hendrickson is a cornerstone of their defense. They know that trading him would significantly hurt their chances of making a deep playoff run. So why would they do Atlanta any favors? Why would they accept anything less than an absolutely overwhelming offer? The answer is they wouldn't. And that means if this trade happens, it's because the Falcons overpaid. It's because they got desperate and gave up more than they should have. And that's exactly the kind of move that sets franchises back for years. Because even if Hendrickson comes in and plays well, even if he lives up to the all-pro billing, you still depleted your draft capital and limited your flexibility to build around him. You still put all your eggs in one very expensive basket. I keep hearing people say, but he's proven he's an all-pro. This is exactly what Atlanta needs. And sure, on paper, that all sounds great. But football isn't played on paper. It's played in real time with real consequences, by organizations that have to think beyond just this season. And the reality is that trading for Trey Hendrickson would be a win-now move for a team that isn't actually ready to win now. It would be forcing a timeline that doesn't match the roster's actual development. Let's also talk about the pressure this would put on Hendrickson himself. He'd be coming to a team that just gave up significant assets to acquire him. The expectations would be through the roof. Every single game, every single snap, he'd be under a microscope. And if he doesn't immediately transform the defense, if there's any adjustment period at all, the criticism would be relentless. That's not a recipe for success. That's a recipe for disappointment and buyer's remorse. And here's the thing that nobody wants to admit. Even if Hendrickson comes to Atlanta and plays at an all-pro level, that might not be enough. Because the problems with his defense go beyond just needing one elite pass rusher. They need better coverage in the secondary. They need more depth along the defensive line. They need better communication and scheme execution. One player, no matter how talented, can't fix all of that, and expecting him to is setting everyone up for failure. The smart move here, the move that actually makes sense for Atlanta's long-term future, is to walk away. It's to acknowledge that while Hendrickson is an incredible player, the cost of acquiring him doesn't match where this team actually is in their competitive window. It's to focus on developing the young players they already have, on making smart, sustainable moves that build toward future success rather than gambling everything on a single season. But I have a feeling that's not what's going to happen. I have a feeling the Falcons are going to get caught up in the hype, in the pressure to make a splash, in the idea that they're somehow just one player away from contention. And if they do pull the trigger on this trade, if they do give up the assets and take on the contract, I genuinely hope I'm wrong. I hope Hendrickson comes in and dominates. I hope he transforms the defense and leads Atlanta to the playoffs. But based on everything we know about how these desperation trades usually work out, based on the track record teams that mortgage their future for immediate gratification, I'm not optimistic. Because this isn't about whether Trey Hendrickson is good. He absolutely is. This is about whether the Atlanta Falcons are in a position to maximize that talent without destroying their ability to compete in the future. And right now, I just don't see it. So here's my take. Trey Hendrickson to the Falcons is a fantasy. It's a pipe dream that sounds great in theory, but falls apart the moment you actually examine the logistics. The cost is too high. The Bengals' motivation to trade is too low, and Atlanta's actual competitive window doesn't align with making this kind of all-in move. If they somehow pull this off, I'll be shocked. And if they do pull it off, I'll be even more shocked if it actually works out the way everyone hopes. But that's just my opinion. Do you think the Falcons should go all in and try to land Hendrickson? Or is this exactly the kind of desperation move that blows up in your face? Let me know what you think in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed because we're tracking every single rumor and move as this trade deadline madness continues to unfold.